that one. All right, everybody, welcome to Talk the Walk, episode 23. I've already titled this one, Time and Tide.
Time and Tide.
Time and Tide. And you'll find out why whenever we get into the Scott Gimple interview with Larry. I started to say Larry David, which would have been a much better interview.
That would have been pretty
now
cool.
that I think about it. But Larry King Live did an interview with showrunner Scott Gimple, and there was a lot of really great stuff in this interview. But join with us this week. We're joined by Mr. David from Australia. David, what's going on? Oh crap! We got a problem. The theme music is David's. The same knob as David. So like, whenever I turn down the music to talk over it, you can't hear. All right, we'll have to cut out. We'll have to bail out on this music. Let me turn it all the way down and then stop it. True professionals.
Right.
All right, now we should have you there.
I'm here.
All right. Now we've got
Now we have them.
the sexy accent on the line. So those listeners that may, if you're not familiar with other shows on the Undercast Network, David does a podcast called Nerd Culture Podcast. Actually, me and David do it. I'm on every other episode. And it's just a nerd culture show, kind of like Electric City Nerds, which is my other podcast. And David's even on there sometimes. So we're kind of like brothers in arms in the podcasting world. We're always cross promoting each other's shows and things. And he's been talking about for a while wanting to get on Talk the Walk with us.
We're glad to have
That's
him.
right.
It just
every episode, and this is I'm very excited.
It's just because of the time change. You're usually at work right now.
Yeah, this is my Friday morning, so it's like 9 o'clock Friday morning. So, yeah, I would be working hard. Actually, no, hardly working.
Wow, he knows the future.
Right, yeah. So it's Friday morning for him.
Right.
Yeah, we always have this bit.
That's going on forever.
We do this bit every time.
Every time.
What happened last night?
I ask him lottery tickets. Ask him if the zombie outbreak has happened yet. I gotta come up with a new one every time David's on the show. It's gonna be hard to do.
Well, last night was the Modern Family Australian episode, so that was probably the big event for Australia.
It was for us too. But shouldn't it be tonight?
It may be tonight. Wow. Mind blown.
God, this timey-wimey. So, Dave, what are you doing? Like, are you calling into work sick today, or did you call in and go, I can't work.
Well, actually, funnily enough, I am actually kind of sick, so my voice is a bit different. But no, it's a public holiday today because of Anzac Day. So this is the day that we honour our servicemen from World War One and sort of onwards.
Okay.
Okay.
What would be the American equivalent of that? Probably July 4th?
Well, you've got
we got Veterans Day. Veterans Day would be the...
Veterans Day would probably be the closest.
That'd be the better, yeah. All right, so, and you went to a con recently and actually got to talk to Micheal Rooker.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a funny story. Tell me about that.
I went to a con called Supernova Expo in Australia here, and Micheal Rooker was one of the guests, and he basically wasn't doing interviews. He was only contracted to do a couple of interviews, and he'd done both of those. And I'm just a small fish in the pond, but I spoke to the organisers and practically begged. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say I practically begged, and they agreed. They said, all right, look, we'll give you 3 minutes with Micheal as long as he's okay with it. You got 3 minutes. And I'm like, all right, awesome. And I said, when can we arrange that? And they said, now. And I'm like, what the hell? So
you were ready to go right then.
Yeah, I had no preparation time. I basically had all the gear in my hand like an idiot, and I just, I suddenly got. I've interviewed, quite a few celebrities, and they basically, they don't fluster me. They're just normal people at the end of the day. But for some reason, interviewing Micheal Rooker, I just started sweating like a pig, and it was horrible. It was really, really horrible. And so then, 30 seconds later, I'm standing in front of Micheal Rooker, and I've got the recorder out, and my mind just went completely blank, and we've got the audio, so you can see this is interviewing 101, how not to do an interview.
He seemed like, so I don't know that I would have done any better. He seemed like Michael Rooker. I've never interviewed him, but he was at XCon World last year, and the podcast was there last year doing interviews, but the line for him was just ridiculous. And not that I didn't want to wait in line to talk to Michael Rooker. I didn't want to wait a line to be turned away by his agent, so I didn't wait in line. But even then, just the interactions I saw with him, he seems like how do you word it? Not that he's rude, but that he's really over the top.
Yeah.
Like he's just a really larger than life person to talk
like
to.
That. Yeah, he does.
Probably
larger than life is the perfect explanation. He was awesome. His line was massive. He and Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca, they had the two biggest lines.
Right.
And they had some pretty important celebrities at this event. And their lines were always massive. And on the very first morning, Michael Rooker got up on top of the table that he was doing the signing on.
Yeah.
Stood up on top of it, despite everybody, all the carers around him going, no. He stood up on top and took photos of the crowd.
Yeah.
And you should have seen the reaction. It was like Jesus had arrived.
Right.
And that's what I mean. That's what I mean. He seems in a hilarious way. He seems charismatic, but not in charismatic in whatever room he's in, he's the center of that attention.
Definitely.
And I feel I feel like he'd be great at parties. Like he would have all these really cool, hilarious stories.
Oh yeah.
While I was waiting, the 30 seconds before I actually got to speak to him, it was that 30 seconds was him chasing around a lady, like trying to grab her ass. In a nice playful way. She's pretending to be, it's like, no. He's running around with his hands like a couple of centimeters away from her bum. You know what I mean?
I can totally see that.
Yeah. He seems awesome. Great. So any particular place you want me to start this? Like we just have like a 1-minute clip of it. You want me to just start from the beginning and then
start from the beginning? Yeah, you can see just how ridiculously out of my depth I was.
I'm kind of curious though, because I have a similar situation where I interviewed it was actually a politician when I worked in politics, but I interviewed somebody and they were awesome. But his staff was kind of like, it was this young girl, probably my age at the time, but she seemed like she could judo chop me in like 50 pieces, and this particular person had a minute and a half to talk to me, and they weren't budging on that. How was the staff around Michael Rooker? Like, did he have handlers
Yeah, he had handlers, and they were all in awe. I mean, basically every time he was speaking, while he was speaking to me, he was winking at every girl around him. And they were just lapping it up there. They were lapping it up. It was pretty awesome, actually. I mean, at the time, I was petrified. But looking back now, I think it's one of my favorite interviews. Actually, it's ridiculous.
All right, I'm going to play a little bit of it here. All right, okay. You won't be able to hear it on your end. That's
fine. I've heard it before. I lived the dream.
Yeah, you lived it.
Hey, what do you mean? We got some questions, yeah?
Yeah, how you doing?
Go for it.
My name's David from NCB. How you doing?
How you doing, Dave?
It's a pleasure to meet you. Welcome to Australia.
Oh, thank you. Welcome to Australia. You like Melbourne?
I do like Melbourne. I've been here all my life.
Yeah. So you're a local boy?
I'm a local boy.
Well, good. What do you like to eat here?
I've only got 3 minutes. Everything.
All right. Okay, what do you got? You got a question for me? I've already asked you 3.
All right, I'll try and catch up. It's absolutely a massive CV of work.
I'm going to pause it for a second. So you were... he seems like he's interviewing you.
Yeah, no.
I love that. You're like,
I've only got 3 minutes.
He's like, so, are you local here? Yeah, I'm local. What kind of food do you like? Maybe that should be
It's funny. It seems to be a popular question with these guys, because actually I interviewed someone else the next day, and she asked me the same question. Oh, what sort of food do you like? What's some good restaurants around here? I'm like, what?
Do you think they're just hungry, or do they think Australians eat weird food? And maybe you do. I don't know that I even know that you don't.
maybe I think it's more along the lines of, is there something weird I can eat here that's not Vegemite?
Where do you get the koalas?
Let's see, let me mark where we're at, then I'll start it again.
Including Henry Portrait of a serial killer, and now Merle on.
I know, it's awesome, man.
Absolutely amazing, and just the amount of love that the fans have for you is unbelievable. And I can understand why. I was here yesterday when you got up and took the shot of the crowd. Absolutely great. Have you? I mean, out of not just going those two roles, but have you got a favorite role?
You know what? I've been asked that a number of times. I really don't have a favorite role, but I do really appreciate usually the last ones that I've done. When I think back, I like Days of Thunder and 8 Men Out. You know, Chick Gandil and Roddy Burns and Days of Thunder, of course, and Merle Dixon. You know, and I can name a number of ones that I've really, really, truly enjoyed. But I don't think I have one single favorite.
My favorite is, of course, Merle. One of my favorites is Tombstone. Your appearance in Tombstone.
Oh,
that was supposed to be an amazing cast.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Have you ever actually been starstruck?
No.
No? All the people you've met?
I've never been starstruck.
They should be starstruck of you.
There you have it.
I'm at it right now.
That's right, damn it.
Cool. I mean, this is the classic sort of NCP question that's on recording from No Culture Podcast. If you were doing this interview, what would be the one question you would want asked?
I already asked it. How do you like Melbourne?
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in that case, I'm sold. Awesome. I was wondering if you could please do a soundbite for me.
All right, so I'll go ahead and cut it out there. So you pretty much asked him 4 questions and he answered 1.
Yeah. I managed to get the patented NCP question in there, and he just threw it right back at me. I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
it was that was good. It was an experience, and I just thanks to Supernova and thanks to Micheal for talking to me, and it was good. It was a lot of fun.
He seems like a real fun guy. I hope I'd love to get to talk to him one day. I don't know that I think I should have seized the opportunity at XCon World. I don't know. Is he going to be? Maybe he'll be at.
I'm sure
New
he'll
York
be making the
Comic-Con.
rounds.
I'm pretty sure he'll be at New York.
So we got a second chance, David.
You know, we should have gone down the road while they were filming here and talked to all those guys.
Yeah, they would have let us on set there. They would have shot us with one of those fake guns.
Hey guys, interview.
You've mentioned before that it's filmed like not too far away from you guys. I would have been there every goddamn day. It's just handing around the set.
I've seen it on Google Maps.
Speaking of which, I actually took this out of the show notes because I didn't think it would ever come up to talk about it. But there's a movie called Ride Along. You remember that movie? It came out like 2-3 years ago.
That name sounds familiar, yeah.
It was a comedy. It sticks out of my mind because it had a 280ZX in it, which is the best car ever made. The best car ever made.
Was that a Ice Cube or somebody movie?
I don't know that it was Ice Cube. It was a comedy. It was like a oh no, I know what you're thinking of. Maybe that is what it is. Ride Along is Ice Cube. Yeah, I'm thinking of the wrong movie. No 280ZX in Ride Along. Anyway, Terminus is in Ride Along though. There's a scene where there's this building that there's like shit going down at, and it's actually the building from Terminus. And also in this same article I was reading this, apparently Terminus is owned by the Atlanta Railway, and it's in the Atlanta area. So we were discussing where Terminus was like in real life, and it's in this area too. So like literally everything on The Walking Dead is an hour and a half to 2 hours away from us.
Right.
And
why are you not there right now?
Well, me and another guy that me and David work with are trying to plan like a weekend that we can go to all these places, because like the guy that owns the farm, or like the guy that owns, like, these people, like, they realize their local fame, so like
they let you go do stuff.
Yeah, you just like they like charge you for parking or something, and then there's like probably some guy that goes, gives you a tour, like, yeah, here's where Merle got shot, like.
Well, we actually have one of our listeners / followers that lives in Woodbury.
Yeah.
She's a friend of my wife's actually, and she saw all kinds of filming, like,
during
down the road from her house.
During season 3, we were getting like insider scoop from her, like they were burning something. They were burning
down a building the other day.
That is awesome.
Anyway, let's get into the show notes this week. the biggest thing that I'm most excited about is Scott Gimple doing the interview with Larry King live. Oh crap! David's not going to hear any of this.
That's cool. I've listened to it already.
Okay. I'll just remind. What we'll do is we'll listen, and then I'll remind you of what question Larry King asked him.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. I'm pulling it up now. I think the fact that they interviewed Scott Gimple is like a sign of how popular the show is.
And, you know, Larry King doesn't really do much anymore. So that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Because what's his name?
To put it in comparison, they didn't interview Frank Darabont when he was on.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
They know how big it is now. I mean, Scott Gimple is on fire.
It's a lot bigger, and yeah, I think there's also just something more approachable about Scott Gimple. And I think people are latching on to that. All right, let's see. I'm going to play a little bit here. I don't remember the first question.
By the Walking Dead showrunner Scott M. Gimple. He's here to answer all of your social media questions, and we got tons of them. Let's run them down. As it was always, FOB, will Daryl be forced to choose between Beth and Carol?
You know, when we talk about season...
Jerk off question. Don't even care.
Right.
Do you care?
No, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen anyway.
I don't think so either. So the question was, do you think Daryl is going to have to choose between Beth and Carol?
Yeah.
I don't. No. I think there's been a lot of questions about Beth and Carol, and I think it's more of the Walking Dead cast, like the Walking Dead like writers trying to tropes that in, but I don't actually think it'll be a big part of the story.
No, I don't either.
I think it's just.
Can I just say pass?
Sell more Hot Topic t-shirts, you know what I mean?
C73 asks, will next season take place right after the finale, or will time have passed? That's a fair question.
Okay, that is a fair question. I'll say this. I'm not going to tell you definitively one way or another, but I would say it'd be very difficult, because it was such a cliffhanger, to skip over what happens next, right next. So
the weekly series, You're Too Young.
No,
the movies every Saturday that have cliffhangers. You gotta come on.
Yeah.
So, Larry King asked Scott Gimple if the show is going to take place right at the ending of season 4,
or if
time has passed. Now, if it does, this will be the first time ever that the next season has started without any lapse in time.
Right.
And I think that it will, but I think that also though we're going to see flashbacks of what Terminus was before. And I think the show will start at the train car, but it's going to be like 10% of the episode. Like, I don't even think...
Right.
I think most of the story of the first episode of season 5 is going to be the Terminus people before Rick and them show up. Yeah.
That's why I think...
Lost style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, probably let you in on what the little room means with the names and all that stuff. And
you think first episode?
No, well, I'm saying they'll start opening that kind of stuff up. I don't think they're gonna give away all that in one episode.
Yeah.
But they'll start laying that foundation.
I'm with that. I reckon the first episode will reveal what that room is.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
In flashback sense, and then they'll move into. In fact, I'll be surprised if the actual main cast even appear in the first episode for the first 20 odd minutes.
They have to. I mean, the first 20 odd minutes, maybe. But they have to be like. Think of how pissed people would be if they.
Right. Well, I think.
But here's the thing: The Walking Dead might do it. Like they do stuff like that, where like people watch it and they go, "Rick wasn't even in this episode."
Right. He hadn't been in it for 4 episodes.
Let's face it. Nobody is saying Rick wasn't in this episode. It'd be more along the lines of Daryl wasn't in this episode.
Right.
Yeah, there was. I was actually really proud that the show carried without Daryl for season 4. Like there was a lot of episodes without him.
Well, I could definitely see, they always have the start. I think the start will be like a flashback thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be like something about Terminus. So you may not see, like, you go with a start and then after the commercial break coming back, I think it'll go back to Terminus. So you may not see the people for the good 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to happen.
And then I think, like you said, I think it'll be snippets of present, but I think most of it'll be about the past.
Yeah. Let's see. There's some more revealing questions here.
Yes.
And Art of Gareth, how long do you think The Walking Dead will last?
Wow. as a TV, as a comic book, I don't know if it'll end. As a TV show, all TV shows end. But I will say, I think it's possible that it could go on and on and on. I think if it went 10 years, if it went longer than that, it's possible that the cast, considering the amount of deaths on this cast and everything else, after 10, 12 years, it could shift into a whole new cast.
I did 26 at CNN.
Okay, so we have, okay, then I'm going to say 27 years.
Okay. At J. Henry H.
Yeah, well,
6965.
What's that?
10 plus years. You figure one character makes it
10 years
through.
I don't even, if they go that long, Rick won't even be on the show
No,
anymore.
it'd be Carl. I would say Carl. If you're going to carry it on that long, it'd be Carl.
Yeah, it could be if Carl's still on the show.
Right. But he's got, I mean, he can grow into that role. So, I mean.
Right.
They're counting on that for it going that long anyway. I mean, didn't the creator say that the Negan character from the comics isn't going to show up until season 9?
That's what he says. I kind of have a theory about that just based on everybody's kind of already on their way there.
Right.
My guess, and I'll explain why later in the show, my guess is end of season, it may even be the end of season 6, but season 6, I think we'll see Negan. And I wouldn't be completely surprised because the way Scott Gimple describes it is, he said this at the Talking Dead episode that came on after the finale. So it was the Talking Dead finale. He said this show reinvents itself every half season.
Oh, definitely.
So we know this half season is going to be the Terminus story, and however that's going to be. There'll be something else in the next half season. And then I think that it could possibly be the cliffhanger for season 5 could have something to do with the Saviors.
Right, and Beth and stuff.
Yeah. But I got some show notes later on that go into more detail of that, so I'll save it.
What do we like? What do we like for spoilers here? So, can I talk about the comic and stuff?
You can, but me and David haven't read the comic. But I don't mind you spoiling it for me because
no, I don't either.
I know what happens in the comic based on.
I mean, I know,
I'm
research.
thinking more for the listeners. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm very eager for the Negan storyline to start up because I like Negan as a character, but also the fact that
I do too.
one of the main characters dies.
Right?
Is that too spoilery?
We've already mentioned.
We've already mentioned this.
We've
before.
already mentioned that before. And
so you've mentioned Glenn, right?
Yeah, and the thing is,
right. Cool.
Anybody listening to this show has got to know we're going to talk about spoilers. But you know, we haven't read the comics, so we don't really give too many comic spoilers. But we have mentioned that one. And the only comic spoilers that I know are ones that relate to the show. So there's not really a whole lot that we can give out as far as me and David.
Awesome.
But also the TV show. And this is something else that Scott, I think he says it in this interview, and there's several interviews where Scott Gimple and Robert Kirkman are now using this term remix. And that seems to be a season 4 thing they just started doing, but they say that the TV show remixes the comic. So I think this is a new way that they're trying to take the show. So, I mean, even if you know spoilers from the comic,
doesn't necessarily mean anything.
it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a spoiler for the show. All right, so I'm going to play a little bit more of this.
Wants to know if Daryl will ever find love.
Who cares?
I would say Daryl has already found familial love, if you're talking romantic love. I'm going to say I think so.
At evaporation, will we ever find out what happened to Beth in season 5?
Absolutely.
kind of a dumbass question.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Evaporation on Twitter.
One character from the dead, who would it be?
That's very difficult to choose, but I'll say just having done the finale.
Before he answers, that's a great question. So the question was, out of all the characters on the show, who would you bring back from the dead? And let's give our answers too. So let's start with David from Down Under. All right, well, maybe I'll go first because I knew the question going in, and I didn't give you guys a chance to think about it.
I'm just like, what? Give me the process.
Deer in headlights. So I've already heard the interview. I know what Scott Gimple's answer is, but I would say mine is probably no. I don't know. So I would say Herschel or Daryl.
Daryl's still there.
Dale. Herschel or Dale. Partially because I got an Uncle Dale and I have Uncle Herschel. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have an Uncle Herschel.
So when he says come back from the dead, do you mean as a zombie or actually they just miraculously survive?
What would be the point of that?
I just want to clarify.
I wish they'd all come back as a zombie and then they just have to fight him. No, I think I might say Dale instead of Herschel. Herschel, the actor that played Herschel, better actor. But Dale as a character, I kind of like, they kind of serve the same purpose. They were both the voice of reason, but Dale was kind of in a different way than Herschel. And I think if I were to pick, I'd pick Dale, mainly because Scott Gimple says Herschel, and I don't want to give the same answer.
Oh, well, see, I was going to say Herschel anyway.
Yeah, I think most people would.
Question. I mean, the characters are dead. I don't really see the point of this question. It's like, well, they're not going to bring them back because they're dead.
It's a hypothetical.
It's a hypothetical. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've ruined the mood of the story.
How do you think?
Well, in that case, I want Carol's ex-husband.
Hey, another funny story. Carol's ex-husband is from this town that we live in.
Yeah, we've been to Free Comic Book Day at the same time.
There you go.
There's all kinds of claims to fame for The Walking Dead in this area. Why is our podcast not more popular?
Right? Jesus.
We're living in exciting times. And, actually, as much as I loved Herschel, I think he went out in a decent way. It was a poignant way.
Yeah.
I just miss his Yoda-like philosophy that he was expounding at the end.
I got to change my answer. I think I definitely would pick Herschel.
Yeah. What about Carol's daughter? That would be pretty freaky for the group dynamic. You know what I mean? I mean, she just miraculously reappeared. They'd be like, well, then who's the zombie that we killed? And and emotionally drained us all. And then Karen will change Carol because now she's lost the young psychopath girl.
And then she just walks up and shoots her in the head.
Yeah, they think she's a zombie.
What's going on? That'll definitely screw things over.
I thought you might say Lori, David.
Well, see, I was going to say Lori, but then I thought Lori's not dead, so you can't bring her back.
Lori never actually died.
She's not part of the question. She's still hanging out in that prison somewhere.
Yeah.
Why did you think I would say Lori?
I meant American David.
Oh, I'm sorry. We've got to go D1 or D2, man. Aussie or
we'll do D6 Yankee. And D20.
Okay, cool.
All right, we got to figure out which version of D&D you each played, and then we'll pick the appropriate die. So let's see. I'll listen up. I think I know why most people say Herschel, though, is because so much of Herschel is still living on based on the characters that are here.
Right.
They keep talking about the same narratives that Herschel did, but right before he passed. You see it in Maggie talking about how she can ask somebody else for help, and Glenn's always talking about hope. So like you have all these like things that kind of carried over even after Herschel's death. So his spirit's kind of still in the show. You know what I mean?
Plus, he was cool.
Yeah, he was really cool. Oh, and I'm watching. I think I might have said this on ECN, so I don't know if people listen to both shows. I'm sorry, but I'm catching up now on the X-Files.
Oh yeah.
And there's an episode where Mulder and Agent Doggett go to this like oil rig, and the oil rig has got all these like infected people on it, and they're all infected with that black goo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene where the camera pans across, basically a cast of extras. Like these are all like no-name actors in the show, no line. They're just standing there looking mean with black goo dripping out of their eyes. Right in the front center is Herschel as like a no-name actor just in this scene. And I was like, wow, he went from being just this guy with black goo dripping out of his eyes to like one of the main characters on the biggest AMC show right now.
Ever.
It's crazy.
That's pretty cool.
He's come a long way, baby.
So let's hear Scott Gimple's answer. Back to you, Gimple.
Valley with Scott Wilson. I love the story we told around his demise, Herschel's demise. But man, I love Scott Wilson.
At Brian Heath, will Eugene make the milk powder into a bomb with Maggie's lighter?
This is a great question.
Right.
So, at Brian Heath, if anybody wants to tweet him, at Talk the Walk, at Brian Heath. Great question. Will Eugene make the milk powder into a bomb with Maggie's lighter? There's so many clues to this. Eugene has already like talked about how he knows how to make a bomb. He knows how to make a battery out of a penny and like salt or something. And also Maggie's already established that she has a lighter because she burned her picture in the tunnel. And then lastly, there's all kinds of YouTube videos about how combustible powdered milk is. And they showed powdered milk on the ground for seemingly absolutely no reason at all other than to make you think that Beth may be there.
Right.
I think they're making a bomb.
Could be.
I think 100%. This Brian Heath guy, he's got it going on, dude. He knows what he's doing.
So you're thinking Eugene's kind of a MacGyver type thing. He's going to...
You give him like a toothpick and a,
paper clip, some string, something like that.
He's got a tank.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's going to come rolling out of there. Yeah.
He's going to say this too in that car. He's going to be like, hey, by the way, save the milk. I'll make a bomb. And everybody's going to be like, yeah, right, dude. Shut the fuck. Of course, this is Georgia, so they would all be like, oh, man, we do that all the
time. They might know before he does.
I know. They're like, oh, we already had this planned out, dude.
Yeah, so what other, this is great. Like, I don't know if this is what's going to happen. I kind of think it might. But the clues are all there that this might happen. And Scott Gimple has said before that there's clues in this episode, that lead to what's going to happen in the first episode of season 5. And I wonder what other clues are there that we may have overlooked.
Did you go back and look at that scene where we think that Rick may have gotten the gun?
No, I haven't actually watched it yet. But according to a Reddit post I read, which is always correct.
It's the internet. Why wouldn't
it be? Rick, the scene where Rick grabs the guy and holds the gun to his head, and then the sniper shoots that guy, and he sees the one guy close his fist. He turns around, the sniper shoots his body shield in the head, and then whenever the body falls, he goes back to the body to get something. Well, there's two trains of thoughts. A, Glenn's watch.
Right.
B, that gun. I had to go back and watch the video before I could say definitively, but he grabs the watch whenever he grabs the guy. He doesn't grab his gun, I don't think.
Yeah, because he has his own gun.
I think so too. I think they've got a gun and a bomb in this train.
Right. A milk bomb and a gun. Or I guess...
Or maybe a milk gun.
A milk gun.
and with that, you could take over the world.
You could. But I guess, with the lighter, I guess you're taking the lighter fluid maybe, or like the flint to spark something. But again, like if you've got...
No, this powdered milk stuff is like highly combustible.
Well, I'm talking about how to make it into like more of a bomb. Put gunpowder in. And if they have a gun and bullets... They could mix gunpowder and that milk together and make something really big.
Yeah.
So
maybe he doesn't grab a gun. Maybe he grabs a mag, and then at least he's got the bullets.
Yeah.
And this Reddit post was suggesting that it was in Carl's hat, because they say that whenever Carl's running, he's holding his hat. They say that in the scene where Gareth and all of them are on the roof and they're calling him, Archer and all that kind of stuff, they tell him to lay down their weapons. That Micheal and Rick and Daryl all look at Carl, and hey,
don't do it.
Lay down all but one weapon, all right, kid. Like, don't lay down that one. And then the final scene of the episode, or one of the last scenes of the episode, is the new sheriff in town scene where Beth's wearing the hat.
Right.
And this guy was suggesting that they're trying to draw our attention to the hat at the end of the episode because Carl could have a gun hidden in the hat. If this happens, I'm okay with it, but I don't see why it needs to be in his hat. It could just be in Rick's pocket. It's not like they frisked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were all way away from him.
And so if it happens, whatever. But it doesn't seem like it needs to. I think that might be a reach that it's in Carl's hat. But yeah, that might be the plan for next week, is I'm just going to slow-mo watch this entire episode. It's going to take me 6 hours to watch one.
Right.
And I'm going to look for all these clues. because I really feel like this guy is on to something with the whole milk bomb thing. I think that Rick may actually have a gun in the boxcar. I'm also trying to research, and I don't know that this means anything. I assume it means Northwest, but the NW on the side of the train, car. I'm wondering if that gives us a clue as to where that train car may be heading if it were to leave Terminus.
Was it painted on there? Like
it was like
the graffiti, like the A was, or was it like part of the car?
Part of the car. So I was thinking that may, like in modern day, I don't know how train cars work, but like now that has to signify something.
Well, I know there's,
and I didn't know if that might be a clue to the show.
You know, there's different railways. So you got, you know,
it might be just the
railway and whatever railway. So it could be. It
goes into my theory because, and we'll get into this more later, but I think Abraham and Eugene may be leaving the group to head towards Washington, and I'm wondering if they'll be following the same track or if they have to go a different route to get there. But anyway, that's not important right now. Take it away, Larry King.
You know what?
I don't know what I'm asking because this sounds weird.
You know what? I haven't thought of that, but that sounds good to me. If you see it on the air,
audience.
Now, we didn't listen to his answer. He didn't say no.
He didn't say no, but he was just like,
I'm not going to answer. But if it had been wrong, he would have said no.
He was probably texting right then. All right, we got to rewrite this scene. Fucking assholes.
Yeah, thanks a lot, fucking Brian Heath or whatever his name was.
Scrap 2 days worth of shooting.
Loves these shows. They get involved, right? They give you ideas that might work.
There's a lot of legal things around that, so I try to step aside from that. But I will say they're incredibly involved.
At MS, Deborah Prince asks if next season will follow the comics as closely as the past season.
I think it'll continue to be a remix. There'll be stuff that you'll see, wow, that's directly from the pages of the comics.
I wish a great joke just popped in my head, and I wish I had done it. We need to get a sounder for remix, like in rap songs where they go, remix! And every time Scott Gimple says remix, we're going to hit the sounder.
Remix!
And then you'll see things that are like, wow, that's inspired by the comics. That's a whole remix of what was there.
At Nina Juggalo 199, what is Terminus?
This person's name is Nina Juggalo. That means they're an Inside Cloud Posse fan.
Right.
Terminus, as we know, is a compound that has a good amount of people that are very, 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 very formidable.
All right. So someone wrote in and asked something like, "What do we know about Terminus?" or "What is Terminus?" Which is like he's going to answer that question. But Scott Gimble's answer was really neutral. Did you notice that?
It was very, he just said they were very formidable.
Yeah.
They didn't say they were bad people.
They were good people.
Or good people.
Which means they're probably
a little of both.
A little of both. Yeah, I think so. I think that the group's not going to want to hang out with them, but I think after we hear their story, we might be okay with it.
Right.
What if they're going through a lot of trouble to try to remix the Hunters. Like, it really seems like Gareth is a remix of one of the characters from the Hunters, and...
Well, they did say that he was going to be just like a bunch of different characters.
They said he was a few, like, rolled into one. I think they're going through a lot of trouble to make up this background. They got this awesome location. They're saying that we're going to see so many different scenery in this one location that they're filming in, and they're talking about half a season. I mean, could this be the spinoff show?
Well, they already said that the spinoff show is not going to have anything to do
with Georgia,
with the current things or anything.
All right.
Of course, they say that.
Touche.
Now, I would have to say I would believe that, though.
Touche, David. No, I think you're right. I don't, because they specifically said
silly. It would seem silly to do a spin-off set in the same location when you got the rest of the world to do.
You're absolutely right. They specifically said it wasn't going to be in Georgia. I still like our celebrity zoo theory.
Right.
Did you hear that theory, David?
I did. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I still think that's going to be it. They're rounding up William Shatner zombies and stuff like that, putting them in a. They're having it's basically like a big Comic-Con of zombies.
Marty Hazel, any news about the Walking Dead spinoff, other than that there will be one?
Wow, that's funny.
Other than that there will be one is basically all I know.
At Salvato 231, Janet, will everyone get as savage as Rick did sooner or later?
That's a great question. I think everyone will have to face being savage as Rick sooner or later. Whether everyone can do that I think is the question for almost every character.
Yeah.
At Jake Spencer, give me anything about season 5.
Season 5, we did talk about it's going to be a little more action heavy. There'll be 16 episodes. That's a total cheat. They know that already.
Nice try,
Patty,
David
give me
Spencer.
this. Is there going to be another romance apart from Glenn and Maggie in season 5? That's fair. Is there another romance?
You know what? I'm going to say yes.
At Film Dude TV, will we see Morgan again?
I am so determined to make that happen by hook and by crook. I can say definitively yes.
Well, you're the boss.
Well,
So Scott Gimple 100% says Morgan's going to be back on the show.
Maybe Morgan is at Terminus.
What if they find out they've been eating Morgan?
What?
Sorry, forgive me. I'll play devil's advocate. But which one's called Morgan?
Morgan is the guy and his son from the first episode, and then they go back and visit him.
That's right. The African American guy with the
He lives in Rick's original neighborhood.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
And he's already come up once, and Scott Gimple really wants him to come in to the show again. I mean, I like Morgan, and I want to see more of him, but I kind of feel like they should either make him a part of the show every episode, or give us a little more time. We can't just spring Morgan every season, because then
Morgan will sweep in and save the day. He'll help them.
I really thought that was gonna happen. There's been a few times in the show where I'm just like, how's Rick going to get out of this?
Right.
And then Morgan just stabs somebody in the head with an arrow.
But no, he bites a guy in the neck.
Turns out it's Daryl in the end. It wasn't Morgan. But yeah, I really thought that might happen.
It's going to be one of those things where he comes in, saves the day, everyone's getting away, and then the one stray bullet arrow something hits Morgan and he dies at the very end. It's
I think it's going to turn out that I think here's what's going to happen. So our theory about Lori, which a refresher course, they never showed Lori die. They never showed her body.
That's right. Never showed her die.
Yeah, and they also established that Carol knew how to do the C-section. I mean, there were so many opportunities and Carol and Lori were missing at the same time. There's so many opportunities, and also she was kind of over Rick, and she was kind of upset with Rick, and what if she left the prison, decided I'm going to go back home, go back to the old neighborhood,
right?
Runs into Morgan.
That's right. He is there.
Yeah, her and Morgan's got a thing going on,
right?
And
having babies and stuff.
Yeah, they might have 4 kids right now,
right?
Just living happily. And
but Morgan's not back at the hometown anymore, is he? Isn't he now in another building, holed up somewhere, going insane?
That's the story he gave Rick because he didn't want to tell Rick, "Hey, I'm banging your ex-wife."
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
No,
it all fits.
It all fits.
You can't prove it's not true.
You can't.
Right? Prove me wrong.
Fan fiction.
But there's time and tide that can get in the way.
Time and Tide.
There you go. Time and Tide. Title of this episode. Scott Gimple said it. Larry King repeated it. We titled it.
Oh my gosh.
Boom.
At MMP 25808, where do you come up with the stories?
Got a coffee house down the road.
125 and more issues to draw from, and then beyond that, to take such inspiration from, to come up with the news stories and the connective tissue between those stories. So I'm an incredibly lucky showrunner.
How many writers on this?
Oh gosh, I always get this wrong. I believe including me there's 8, but I might have that number wrong off the top of my head. But you don't want to see me count it right now.
No. At Crispy Pie, will there be a power struggle with so many alpha males in the boxcar?
I do not believe there will be a power struggle in the boxcar, but moving into the season,
I'll let him finish.
It's a great question to ask.
So power struggle in the boxcar. No, not in the boxcar. In the boxcar, they're going to blow that bomb up because Eugene said it would work, and then
Rick is definitely the alpha male.
Yeah, well, you think regardless?
Yeah, regardless.
No,
dude, he just bit Abraham, the neck off.
Yeah, no, but Abraham doesn't know that.
Yeah, but
we know that.
Abraham will make a play. Abraham will make a play.
That story is bound to come up.
And then Rick will bite his neck off?
Well, no, I'm just saying, that story is bound to come up at some point.
Move.
What happened? What happened with y'all? And then Abraham sitting in the background, and Rick said, "Oh yeah, I bit some guy's neck off." You think he's gonna be like, "No, dude, You're good. This is your group, man.
I'm waiting for the comic reveal. I'm fairly sure that in the comics it's revealed that is it Eugene the
hold on. I think you're about to give us a spoiler that I personally just don't want to know.
What?
Cool.
What do you mean who Eugene
whether
is?
Eugene is legitimate or not? Yeah.
All right, okay, fair enough.
I don't want to know.
Okay, yeah, that's. I don't know either. So yeah, I don't want.
I think I already know.
I think that'll be revealed. It'll be revealed in the second half of the new season. I think
so too.
Just say it into my headphones.
I'll turn the pan over to that. No, yeah, I think I actually already know. And we've theorized it on the show, but I've never read the comics to know for sure. And I don't want you to verify my answer in any way, but I think he's a scam. I don't think he really
he's a scam as well.
David does too.
Oh, I wasn't even going to say that. I was going to say that he was actually a woman. I didn't.
Okay, really?
You got the scam business from. No, I neither confirm nor deny.
All right, let's listen to the last part of this, and then we'll move on to our show notes instead of just riffing on Larry King.
And finally, Coxbara on Instagram. How does the comic book influence the show's production?
In every way, even stories that we've done that are completely different from the comic book draw some sort of inspiration from the comic book. But as far as production goes, they influence the look of our zombies. We have Greg Nicotero, who is an executive producer, a director. He's
Greg Nicotero is like involved.
Everything.
Yeah,
he is the Walking Dead.
We'll have on this show, I'm certain.
We are the Walking Dead.
Pages from the comic right there. It's our Rosetta Stone.
If you write me in, will you kill me?
I couldn't do that. I could not kill you. So I'd need you for at least 3 years.
Thanks.
All right,
and that's the end of it.
So does Larry King actually watch the show?
Is Larry King actually dead?
He might be.
Larry King's The Walking Dead. Yeah.
I find I'd be very shocked if Larry King watched The Walking Dead.
Right.
Yeah. So it was an interesting interview. I actually thought it was a lot of really revealing stuff in it, and I wanted to go over it. I wanted to take up half the show. Did it? It took up quite a lot more than half the show, so I'm sorry about that. But in our news that's floating around the internet, and then we can get into some speculation on what we think season 5 is. The main thing that's come out in the last couple of weeks is that Gareth, Tara, and Rosita are all promoted to season regulars, which means that they're going to be in the season,
multiple episodes, more lines. I mean, they're already in multiple episodes. So, like, what signifies them? What makes them season regulars for season 5 that they weren't in season 4? Like, they were already in a lot of episodes, Right.
Well, I don't know. They were in the last couple.
More pay.
Yeah, they probably are getting paid more. But then, the first elephant in the room, like the big thing that jumps out is, why no Abraham and Eugene? Why is Abraham and Eugene not?
Now, the only thing I thought of too was that they were already considered regulars, so they weren't.
Yeah, but they're not though, because like other websites are asking the same question.
Oh, really?
Why? Yeah.
Yeah.
And my theory is that they could be leaving for Washington.
See, I'd have to say the whole group would go though, wouldn't you?
I mean, I think it's based on what we find out Terminus is. And so, I mean, that's really the bigger question here. Or this is the bigger clue. It really has nothing to do with Gareth, Tara, or Rosita.
And then meet up later, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Everything's leading to
Washington.
Or, what's it called? Alexandria.
Alexandria, yeah.
And that's where the story just, like, finished up in the comics. I kind of see everything moving that direction. I feel like Abraham and Eugene may head out ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would look like.
They make a run for it, so it's not even the sort of discuss. They just leave.
It could be. I kind of get the feeling that
and leave behind Laura Croft and just
I'm not saying that I know what's like. I'm not saying that the Terminus people are going to be like hunky dory and Rick and them are going to live together happily ever after. But I feel like something's going to happen that Rick's group is going to decide to stay there for a while. And Abraham and Eugene are going to want to leave, whether it's they're forced to stay there and Abraham and Eugene are able to escape.
Right.
And it could be let's say Abraham were able to escape with Eugene right now. Do you think he would he really thinks Eugene is going to save the world. Whether he's right or wrong, he believes that.
Oh, yeah, he'd leave him.
He'd do it for sure. If he had the opportunity, he'd leave straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think he would, too. So, I mean, it could be something like that's going to happen. And then maybe, they could force Rick. I don't know if I said this on the last Talk to Walk, but, like, something me and David have talked about at work is that's what makes this confusing. I never know what we say in front of microphones and what we just say talking. You
should just record yourself all the time, 24/7.
Yeah, we do. We do. So
that's a different podcast. It's R-rated.
I don't know. Like they could be like indentured servants. Like they could basically say like, we're going to kill Carl if you don't go do this run for us.
Right.
Like they could basically force them to stay as part of the group at Terminus.
They're slaves.
Yeah, and we don't know that that's not what Terminus is. As far as we know, that's what they do to people until they brainwash them into being part of their
right.
cult. They force you to stay there long enough until you don't know anything else and you don't want to leave. So I mean, maybe that's part of what Terminus is. So that's the big news. Now, honestly, it could just be that the Abraham and Eugene announcement just wasn't leaked yet. They could be season regulars, and it just hasn't leaked to the internet yet. So, I mean, it could be reading a whole lot into nothing, but based on the information we have right now, that's my theory. Carol, Tyrese, and Judith, they showed the powdered milk thing. I really feel like that's a ruse. I don't think the powdered milk's there to feed Judith.
No, and I think it's there to feed the people in the boxcars.
Yeah, well, that's weird, though. Why would you feed them powdered milk?
Because they're prisoners and they don't deserve any better.
Is it easy to come by, though?
Well, I mean, they probably have a big supply, and it'd be easier to mix with water and give them that than use up their vegetables and whatever else kind of food they might have.
There was a train car full of it left behind during the station.
So, I mean, like one bag of powdered milk could probably feed,
maybe
10, 15 people for a while.
Maybe we don't know what Terminus was before all this.
They'd have really bad
it was a train
shits.
station. I was going to say, maybe it was a powdered milk factory.
They'd have really bad shits, but from all the powdered milk.
In an interview with Scott Gimple, he actually described the Carol, Tyrese, and Judith situation as being out there somewhere. So it kind of leads me to believe that whether he subconsciously answered our question, they seem very careful about the way they word things, and out there somewhere is not very vague. I mean, that's very vague in that we don't know where they are, but it does let us know that they are not at Terminus, you know? And so, I mean, I think that's a big clue that they're not there yet. And we kind of theorized that based on their story, we don't know, there's a gap in time for them that they could be a few days, they could be a day ahead. They were definitely a day behind some, like, Maggie's group, but they could be a day ahead of Rick's group. So there was a possibility that they got there, but at the same time, there's a gap in time. We don't know what they did. Right. So they could be a day behind Rick's group.
Yeah. I don't think they're there.
I don't think they're there.
I don't think so either. I'm going with that. I'm going with that theory also. But if they were there, let's say, and this is just a hypothetical I came up with while I was writing the show notes. How would Rick react differently if Judith was there?
I mean, if he saw her in the moment. If he saw
Judith, yeah.
I think he would have played it off. I don't think he would.
They don't know that Judith is his daughter.
That's true. They don't
assume that it was Carol's.
That's true. Yeah.
So, now, whether or not
they wouldn't be able to use the we'll call Judith if you don't do what we say business.
That's true.
I think he would have played. Now, whether or not Carl would have had the same reaction, I think Rick would have been cool enough in the moment to be able to be not react. But now Carl might have reacted. One
thing I'm getting at though is Rick chose to be a farmer, to protect Carl and to make a place where he could raise Judith and Carl, to be more normal. And now he's gotten into this savage mode where it's like, well, in order to keep Carl alive, I have to bite people's necks off. And he's back into that mode again. And I like seeing Rick this way. But at the same time, if Judith were there, I think he'd want to go back to that nest mode. Now, I know he can't do it in a train car. He can't decide we're just going to survive in the train car for the rest of Judith's life. But I think that Judith represents seeking shelter again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but to get that shelter, if Judith was there, I think he'd even go even further.
You think it would just make him more brutal to try to find that? Yeah, you might be right.
He'll do whatever needs to be done to make sure that his children are safe.
But what I'm saying is, all right, let's say Terminus is not the survivors or the saviors. Like, Terminus is not Gareth. So, like, or not Gareth, but it is Gareth. Gareth is not Negan. So, like, it could be a livable place as long as you're willing to overlook some weird thing, like they're eating people or something. You know? Like, would Judith be enough for Rick to go, you know, she's safe here?
Well, it depends on if he thought...
They just got this weird cult thing. You know?
It depends on if he thought that they were truly safe and he could eat, if they were eating people, you know, regardless of what it was.
Like, the eating people thing is probably the line where Rick's like, nah, I can't raise her to be a cannibal. But like, if it's some weird cult or something, like, and he's like, well, we're safe here. We just have to put up with cutting our testicles off or something like that. Like, he might be like, you know, we could do this.
We could do this.
What?
No,
I was basing that off the Haley Bob.
No, I think he would. I don't think he would accept that. I think if he wants to nest, I think it would have to be something like the prison again.
Somewhere he started.
Somewhere that he is in
somewhere
control
where he was
of.
in charge, at least.
Yeah, where he's in charge.
But he gave up.
He gave up being in charge, but he set the rules first. And that's important to him. So, like, as long as he sets the conditions, and so then he knows, has a general idea of what the outcomes would be in certain situations, then he's willing to relinquish authority and then nest. He's not going to do that in Terminus until he takes over first.
And I think he sees now what happened when he did give up being in charge.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
things were good until the one-eyed bastard showed up. Right? I mean, they were going pretty good. He never could have. He may have never even needed to pick up his gun again if it wasn't for the governor.
Right.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee that another governor can't appear. You know what I mean? I mean, he may take over Terminus and get everything settled down, but then he'll still be on edge because there could be another person out there. I'm always under threat. I don't think he's ever going to get back into nesting mode.
Yeah, I mean, no. Yeah, for the sake of the show, I don't think they'll do it. I like seeing it for a while, but every season's not going to start out with that.
No.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I put in here Terminus Past. I figured we'd have some sort of discussion about what we think Terminus may be, which we've already kind of went in and out of that a little bit just in our discussion with the Larry King interview. But one thing I pointed out is they seem well fed. Nobody there seems desperate.
No.
There was meat galore in every shot, which that's because they're teasing us with the whole thing. Are they eating people or are they not?
The cage with the
bones in it, yeah.
Bald.
Oh, and there's a shot where Rick sees that. So I think Rick may know what they're getting into, which is important to how he plans on escaping.
When they're running through there?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was wondering if anybody saw that.
I actually saw that Rick, scene replayed. He actually saw it, yeah.
Definitely sees the boats.
There was someone on YouTube that did a review of the episode, and they actually showed the scene. Like, he takes a long look at it. The rituals, like they seem really ritualistic. I really feel like there's some sort of cult.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're just killing people and eating them.
No.
I think that they're like worshiping the zombies or something. I don't know what they're doing, but there's some kind of strange cult that has something to do with the zombie apocalypse.
Well, like I said, I think that in some way it's like the olden days where, you know, they would sacrifice virgins to a dragon or something to keep it at bay. Yeah. They're doing something like that. They're sacrificing people. And that's what those names in the room is like people that have given that ultimate sacrifice. And I think it's a willing thing in some case. Now, I think they may be eating people on the side. But I mean, I think those people in that room, those names in that room, I mean, that's a special place, obviously.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I think that's what it is. I think it's, you know, maybe they have a lottery. You know, everyone gathers at the little square and
it's like the Hunger Games.
Like the Hunger Games, and they pull a name out of the hat, and, you know, that person goes and sacrifices themselves.
It may be, and you know, it's definitely different than the people they put in the train cars.
Oh, definitely.
I think it was a clue, and I actually do think we talked about this on episode 22, so sorry, but I think it's a clue that they called them Archer and, you know, Samurai.
So they're not personal.
They're not personal. Now, these names on the floor are very personal.
Right.
Yeah. So whether they're eating people or they have indentured servants or whatever's going on, the people that are written in the room are not the same people locked up in train
it's like
cars.
a utopia in there. You know, they've got gardens with fresh vegetables and they have meat and and I guarantee you know, maybe they do keep these people in this train car and they indoctrinate them into their ways.
I think so.
And say, you know, this is perfect. You're never going to want for anything. You just have to put your name into this hat.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing, if your name is called, to do this.
It's like signing up for the draft.
Right, exactly. And, you know, and that's how things are. And and then they go, you know, you're free to leave if you don't want to stay, you know.
Yeah.
And then, like, they're never seen again.
Almost like, you remember how they kept doing that at Woodbury with, I don't forget her name. She's died. Andrea. They kept telling her, you're free to leave anytime you want. They gave them their weapons back. Like, it seemed so non-threatening.
Right.
But at the same time, it was like everybody there, you know, was drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh, definitely.
You know? So I really think it's something like that. And I can't wait to find out the details on it. But Denise, so I put Denise, there's a bullet point that just says DeniseCrosby. So we talked about this before, but DeniseCrosby being on the show means that Terminus is going to be the full half of the season.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
I feel like they're going to be at Terminus for at least the mid-season finale. Will the group eat people? Do you think, I think someone from the group has to eat the meat, not knowing what it is, and then find out that it was people.
Tastes like chicken.
Otherwise, there's no, you know, that's what really sets it over the edge, is being like, you know, just like terrifying.
Right.
Like,
what depends on how...
Do you really think Rick will let them eat the meat without knowing what it is? I mean, why do you warn them first?
Well, like Rick. So one thing I want to point out is that Rick and Micheal, in the final episode, they keep talking about how there's no more food. They're trying to figure out how to trap rabbits, and they're not coming back with anything. They mention it like 4 times at the beginning of the episode that they're so hungry. Now I don't think they'll break down and eat the meat because of that. I think they're going to be with these people so long that, but like we said, Rick saw the bodies though. Rick knows.
I think it'd be more along the lines of, I mean, Rick definitely knows. So I think it'd be more along the lines of he won't tell them.
Yeah.
Because he knows they're so hungry. He'll let it go, and so they'll unwittingly be eating human flesh, and he's the only one who knows about it, and then that'll come out as a reveal later on, and they'll be like, what the hell, man? You
didn't tell us everybody was infected. You didn't tell us we were eating people.
By the way, that was
because I mean, every season is something that he knows that he doesn't tell anybody. You know, and every season they're always going. There's always some sort of scene where it's like, "Why didn't you tell us, man?" It's like, "Oh, I didn't tell." Sort of stuff.
Maybe
this season will be that.
It may be.
They will,
or maybe
that they're eating.
Maybe he has a suspicion, but he doesn't 100% know, so he doesn't want to.
Well,
that'll be his excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you because I didn't know for sure. I didn't want to worry you. I knew you were hungry. It's like, come on, man, you knew.
It could have been an ape.
We rewinded that scene. We know you saw the bodies.
Well, maybe they stay in the train car and they get desperately hungry, and then they bring him out of this car and they bring him to this big feast.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you want to be with us, sit down and break bread kind of thing.
Yeah,
and then Rick's like, by the way.
And maybe the feast is like obviously human. Like it's like hands.
Right, there's a hand. They're like, if you want to join us, eat. And Rick's like, that's the decision right there you got to make. You going to be one with them?
If it was a head in the head, they cut off the head like Indiana Jones style.
Yeah.
Here's some brain.
It's a brain.
It could be something like that, man. I don't know. And
how hungry do you get before you start chowing down on it?
See, I think Carol might eat it.
I think Carol would too.
Last couple of days, man, I'd be straight chowing down on that.
What if?
Can I get some ribs?
So this would be
I'd be like, I want some of the butt.
I'd be like, what'd this guy do? Was he like a bad person?
Right.
I'll justify it if he was like a bad person or something.
I wouldn't even bother doing that. As long as it was well cooked, I'd be cool with it.
I mean, they're dead either way.
Right.
So we
put some barbecue sauce on there, and I'm good to go.
Going back to the Carol thing. So what if it turns out? Well, Tyrese wouldn't go for it though. I was gonna say, what if it turns out that we're like wondering whether she's there or not, whether she's gotten there and she's in one of the train cars, or what if it turns out that she got there, she was cool with everything, and she's a part of the group?
I think that happened too fast. I don't think she would have agreed that quick.
Yeah,
No.
she only had like a day. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't think she's there.
So, more discussion about Beth and where she might be. I really think we won't see her.
It's a separate
Season
story,
5.
is what you're thinking. Like,
Yeah.
she has nothing to do with Terminus.
I don't think she has anything to do with Terminus. I don't think that. So there is a story in the comics, actually how Dale dies, where Dale was kidnapped, and this is around the time I quit reading. So like, he was kidnapped and somehow ends up at Terminus and gets eaten. And people are saying that Beth is kidnapped. She could be at Terminus and gets eaten. But I don't think they're going that storyline. Do you know what I'm talking about, David?
Yep.
So, how did that work out? Because I've always thought this story was weird. So, like, he knew he was infected or something. He was bitten. Yeah. And then whenever they ate him, they turned.
Yeah, everybody's infected anyway, remember that?
Right, so yeah. So I don't understand how this works. Like, I don't understand how them eating somebody that's been bitten that turns them into zombies.
I think it was more along the lines of sort of a mad cow disease analogy. So it's like when they ate him, they sort of made them go funny. I don't remember exactly, to be honest with you. I can't really.
And in the comic, was that before or after they revealed that everybody's infected?
After.
It was after. Because I was going to say, it seems like a storyline that you could get away with in the comic, but I think that the TV viewers would be less forgiving. Like, I just don't know that story would work on TV. Because it just seems too far-fetched that if you ate somebody that was bitten, that you would turn into a zombie, because we all know that they're all infected. And they've never established how the virus spreads other than you die, you come back, So, like, I just don't find that believable. I don't see how it could work. I don't think they'll do that scenario. I don't think so either. I don't think they're going to do that on the TV show. So I don't think that's what's happening to Beth. And there's two characters from the comic that I don't know these characters. These came in after where I left off. But there's a character called Jesus, which I found basically like a IMDb page for Jesus.
He's awesome.
And Father Gabriel. And there's some people that believe that Father Gabriel or Paul Monroe, a.k.a. Jesus, kidnapped Beth.
Get 0% interest for 48 months.
Oh, crap.
$150 in trade-in allowances.
What?
We had some kind of advertisement on our end, but I closed it out.
Oh, okay. Is Father Gabriel the gentleman with the tiger?
No, he's like a priest or something. I don't know if he's got a tiger.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, Father Gabriel, that's right. I know who he is now. Yes. I don't, see, Jesus wouldn't kidnap her. I don't think that's the case.
Well, that's basically what
their comic appearances would kidnap her, no.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what they say in both, about both these characters, is that, like, they're both, like, right now we have these images in our head of what might be happening to Beth. She's like in a dog cage in somebody's house and they're barely feeding her and she's going to die, But it could be that someone picked her up, didn't give her the option to wait on Daryl, but yet they may not have malicious intent. Like, she may, the big surprising reveal may be that at the end of season 5,
she's safe.
We find out she's just safe. She's chilling with Jesus and Father Gabriel.
Do you think she's actually not going to show up for the rest of the season? I think she'll actually show up halfway through the season during the mid-season break.
I think she's going to have something to do with the mid-season break.
Well, that's what I was saying. I don't think you'll see her for the first part. I think it's all going to be Terminus in the group, but I think Beth will come in right at the end.
I think so too. I don't know that she'll make it through the whole season. They'll make it the whole season without telling us, anything at all. But another reason that people are thinking that it may be Jesus or Father Gabriel is because both of them were involved in the story that goes down at Washington. And so if we have the theory that Abraham and Eugene may be leaving the group and heading towards Washington, if somehow, what's going to get the rest of the group heading towards Washington? I mean, after this whole Terminus thing goes down, they're not just going to go, remember that Abraham and that Eugene guy?
Let's follow them.
Let's go find them. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe Beth is going to be the reason they decide to head that direction, you know?
Right.
Because that's where the whole next part of the story takes place. So that's where everything's heading. And so that's the reason I like this theory, with the Jesus or Father Gabriel picking her up, is because A, it would be kind of surprising to find out that she's actually not in trouble. B, it gets the entire group the same way the entire group, it took a half season to get them heading towards, Terminus. You know, this is how they get the group heading towards Washington for the last half of season 5. But at the same time,
I want the guy with the tiger.
Yeah, who was that guy?
Yeah, sorry. No, Guy the Tiger is he's a rival.
That just sounds badass.
It's during the Negan stuff, and he has like his own little sort of outpost as well. That sort of
what's the boxer with a lisp?
Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
with the tiger.
I think he models it. He models it on sort of medieval times, and so they all call him King, and he has a pet tiger that he saved from a zoo. He's an African American man.
I wanted to be played by Mike Tyson.
Exactly.
He's
already got
pretty cool.
And there's a new sheriff in town. So it's either the last line or pretty close to the last line of the episode the last line of the episode is, they're messing with the wrong people, or they're screwing with the wrong group.
They don't know who they're dealing with.
Yeah. But one of the last lines is, there's a new sheriff in town, and they're talking about Beth with the hat on, and this whole finale episode was talking about how brutal Rick has become, and then there's a new sheriff in town, could signify that Beth is gonna, if she's not with Jesus or Father Gabriel, and she might be one of Negan's wives or something, like if she is in a bad situation,
right?
How brutal could she become? Because this whole season they showed how like she was still so trusting of people, and how like she still wanted to be that way. And I feel like this is how I would be too, and this is also how I would be dead. Like I would die in 2 days. As soon as I ran out of food in this house, dead.
I actually think there was a bit of a red herring, man. I don't think it's Beth who's the new sheriff at all. I think it's Carl.
Think it's Carl?
Yeah, I think this is Carl's. Carl's going to step up and just become an absolute tyrant and sort of take over for Rick. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Rick dies at the end of the season.
I mean, I think, like I said,
I'd be
Carl
shocked.
is the future of the show. I don't know if they'll get rid of Rick that soon, but I think Carl is the future. And if it does go 10 years, it's got to be Carl.
Some of the stuff that happens in the Negan storyline, you need Rick for the emotion to play out. So I don't think Rick would die anytime, real soon.
But it's never exactly the same as the comic, though.
No, yeah, you're right. But I mean, like, it's sort of like key scenes that establish that character,
You got the Maggie Glenn thing if you wanted to play off the comic with the Negan storyline, which you don't necessarily need Rick for that.
No, no. Right. I think they're not going to do that. So, like, that's
you don't think they're going to kill Glenn like that?
Glenn will die, but I don't know that it'll be that scene, because that's such a classic scene. So it's a double-edged sword. It's such a classic scene that comic fans want to see it. Yeah. But on the other side, I think that it's so well known at this point that they'll do something different to shock us all. You know? So I mean, I don't know.
That's true. I mean,
but who else could it be? I mean, it has to be, if it's not Glenn, it has to be
Rick.
It has to be equally as gut wrenching. I was thinking Rick. I was thinking it could be Rick. But I don't know.
Rick has got to go. I reckon the end of this season, Rick's gone. That's my prediction.
Insane.
I'm throwing that prediction out there.
Mark it. Mark it all the time.
Well, we said Lori was still alive, so I mean.
That's right. I even said it like a little while ago.
And then, so that pretty much wraps up this episode, honestly. But we still have to get into, we've done a lot of predictions for season 5, and, and obviously David, Australia thinks Rick's gonna die in season 5. What do you think the big, like, character death might be?
Okay, so one other thing, in the interview, he said there was gonna be another couple. She said, will there be another love interest? And he said, yeah, I think there will be.
Now he said other than
Maggie and Glenn.
And Maggie. so much teasing about Daryl,
And
I don't think they'll miss the opportunity to make like $1 million selling T-shirts.
I think it's either going to be, I think it could be.
It disgusts me, but I feel like they're going to do it though.
Well, you've got Tara, and you know
Tara
that,
and Lara Croft.
They could do that too.
You've got Michonne, who you think was with, with Andrea, so maybe they get together.
Well, they're trying really hard to make Michonne like a mother figure to Carl. Of course, she could still be, because they haven't really painted like a romance between Rick and Michonne though. So I mean, it still could be. I
don't think Rick is going to have the romance like he does in the comic.
I don't think so either. I don't think that Rick, at least right now, is not ready for something like that. No. I don't think his character is.
In the comics, it's Rick and Andrea, though, isn't it? I mean,
right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So they're not going to go with that.
Well, they're not going to do that.
They'll never do Rick and Michonne.
No.
It just doesn't. It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't gel.
Beth.
I mean, she's a mother figure to Carl, but she's not.
And I think that's the way. I think that's the way they'll leave it too.
Yeah.
I think, and as long as that is, I don't think there'll be a love interest for Rick.
No.
Because they won't want to interrupt that with Michonne and Carl.
Right.
Unless it's Rick and Denise-Crosby.
There you go.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Rick and Tasha Yar getting it on.
Let's see. So
she survived rape gangs. I'm just telling you. She can survive anything. She's fine.
Every argument leads to, I survived rape gangs when I was 16.
And she won't be able to use that argument in this show because it's just, I mean, obviously it's not
it still works,
but also
post-apocalyptic,
right?
It doesn't work. Is that this world is so horrible compared to the Next Generation world. Whenever you say the word rape in Next Generation, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" But in Walking Dead, it's par for the course. It's an everyday event. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, who hasn't?
Yeah,
that's it.
My uncle was the leader of a rape gang. We had a union. I've lost track now. I don't even know where I was at.
Sorry, dude.
But yeah, so about it has to be Daryl and somebody.
You think so?
Or the Tara Rosita theory. It could be that they've already kind of set that up a little bit.
Terra Rosita. Even if they do go Terra Rosita, it won't be the main focus as a couple.
No.
I think it'll be a minor sort of thing. It'll be. I definitely think it'll be Daryl and somebody.
I do too. I don't think I hate it. I don't hate it because like I don't think it's creepy that Beth is like they're way different in age, but their characters I don't know how different they're supposed to be.
Right.
But it's just
they're way different. They're not that different in age.
Yeah,
she's 18.
But
he's like 40,
like 40 something. Yeah.
No way is he 40.
Yeah, dude, he's been around for a while.
No, man.
He looks great.
No. He's 30.
He's older than you think, man.
Well, in real life, he is 40 something.
Yeah, in real life, yeah.
I know he himself is no. I think his character in the show is only meant to be like 30 years old.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Their characters are closer in age, and I don't think that's creepy. But I'm saying in real life, it would be creepy. But that's not even
in real life. You know how old she is in real life? That girl. She's like almost 30. That girl.
Really?
Yeah, she is old.
Yeah, she's actually quite old.
She is.
I mean, no offense to her. I mean, she looks magnificent.
She's like that 90210 chick.
I thought she was like 22.
Yeah. No, she's like close to 30.
She's closer to 30.
Yeah.
Well. Anyway, the reason I hate the idea is because it just seems so trendy.
Right.
Like it just seems like such a, like, you know, they've already got the death. They're called Death. Daryl and Beth. Death. You know, like it just seems so. It seems so like Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like I hate it.
I'm gonna tell you something.
It's like Kanye West and the Kardashian chick.
Why can't they be Beryl?
They're Beryl.
You know, I gotta tell you something. You know the artist on all the Walking Dead covers is Michael Golden, and he was at Supernova, and he had prints of the Walking Dead covers, and one of them was the Daryl cover because you know Daryl's now been introduced into the comics.
Yeah, I heard that.
Much to
that was an April Fool's thing.
Yes. And it was April Fool's Day, yeah. But he's got the cover for it, right? So he's got a cover with Daryl. And while I was standing there, one of the people who bought one of those prints, the Daryl prints, actually asked Michael Golden if you could do a sketch of Beth in the sort of the white area of that print, of the Daryl print. And I found that amusing. And he also found it quite amusing as well. He's like, but Beth's not in the. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. We got all cranky about it. I'm not doing sketches. So it was the young female fan left disappointed, which is a shame. But
I feel like it's going to happen just because they're missing a golden opportunity if they don't. I don't think it'll last long though. I think that it's a death note for one of them if it happens.
Right. How awesome would it be if they did write him into the comic for like one issue?
Yeah.
And he's killed him in like 2 pages in?
He's the leader of a rape gang. Yeah. No, that would be great if he's only in like 1 page. Like he's in the comic as long as Herschel's in the comic. Yeah.
It's like, hey, who's that guy? Hey, everyone.
If only so we can start using the barrel.
Right.
The romance of the ages.
God. Well, that was Talk the Walk, episode 23. Thanks for joining us, David.
Yes, thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure, mates.
I need you to start calling in to work more often.
Right?
Like, you just need to call in sick.
Sometimes
God.
in life, we hesitate.
Don't tempt me because I'll start to think about it.
Or I know, I got a better one. So, go to work, just take a really long bathroom break.
Right.
And we'll do the show over the phone, and then like you're like, shh, someone's going in.
Is this weird echoey sound?
Yeah.
We'll hear the toilet flush every now and then.
Yeah, you're like, shh, someone's in here. And then we have to wait for them to wash their hands, and then you hear the door open and close. That's how you know that they're gone. Do you ever do that in the bath?
Definitely.
This is personal, but I never get out if I know someone else is in there.
Oh, no. Why would you?
I'll sit there and look at my phone for 35 minutes,
right.
If that's how long it takes.
Fucking hurry up, wash your hands, man.
I wait to listen for them to wash their hands, then shut the door, and then I come out.
Right. I don't want you to know I've been pooping in here.
Oh, how the turn that this conversation is taking.
Right.
It's not an American thing. I do the same thing. I'm with you.
Okay.
Right. Well, we haven't started talking about whether or not the water spins the opposite direction where you live or not.
I've asked him that, I think.
It does, but you can force it to go the opposite direction. So just let you know that.
So this has been Talk the Walk. You can check us out at talkthewalk.com. You can hear more of David over at nerdculturepodcast.com. You can actually hear more of both me and David at undercastnetwork.com. Don't go to undercast.com. It's like Spanish. Undercastnetwork.com is the right thing. And this week I'm gonna play us out on somebody put together a video of how many times Rick says thangs instead of things.
What?
Because of his southern drawl.
Southern drawl.
All right.
His fake southern drawl. It's a pretty impressive accent.
It is.
He actually is really good, yeah.
Last thing she said this morning.
Things are different now. Fear, confusion, all those things, but I won't leave again. I promise you that, not for anything. If there's anything left, it's got to be there, don't you think? There's too many of those things. I just went out. Anything? Yeah.
Lori,
It reminds me of someone put together a clip of all of Kramer's entrances.
Yeah.
On
Seinfeld.
He's the one thing I don't want to fail.
your stepmother's things?
To save Carl's life, I would have done anything. Anything.
That was a double thing.
That was a double thing.
He knew things about us. Help Herschel keep an eye on things around here. Will you keep an eye on things? That thing you did last night. I am doing something. You staged the whole Randall thing. Led me out to put a bullet in my back. Fine. But get one thing straight. I'm doing stuff, Lori.
I'm doing stuff.
Working things out. It's gotta mean something. You know. Things went bad for you, things went bad for me. you're not seeing things right. You're not seeing things right, but you can come back from this. I know you can. Everything okay with her?
Everything.
I see things. Do you even know why you do the things you do? Well, must have been something else then. The things you had to be willing to do. You try anything. Anything. I won't say anything. Everything. That was a stupid thing you did. Someone had to stay back. Watch over things. You've done harder things. You didn't have to do anything. When we get past this thing, not seeing things for how they were, all things considered, we've all done the worst kinds of things just to stay alive.
Jeez.
47 things if you're still listening.
Someone had a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.